Welcome to the 14 Going on 41 podcast. I'm Arvind, the 41 of this chaotic duo, and I've got with me the world schooling, Gen Z speaking, ocean loving, trash talking, bad at mathin', Kiara Arana.
Hi, Arvind, and hi to our audience. For those who haven't listened to the podcast before, this podcast is about people who have followed their passions and taken the road less traveled. And I'm genuinely so excited about this episode, not just because of the topic that we're covering, but because of the amazing guest we have on the podcast today. He is someone who has had an impact on the world's largest sporting stage, and he totally fits right in with the road less traveled theme. He's taken some unconventional choices, and he's perfect for 14 going on 41.
Sounds like we struck gold and silver and bronze with our guest today.
I bet you stayed up all night coming with that.
Yeah, I've got a process. I've got my own process and I don't like to meddle with it.
Oh, God.
Come on. You have to admit, that was pretty funny. But no, I think Viren Rasquinha, we're going to get on, has done so much. He's an Olympian himself. He's captained the men's team in hockey. I mean, it's just a great story that we're going to hear.
Yeah, I've heard Viren speak on stage before when I was younger, as I was growing up. And I think that the work that he does is incredible, supporting aspiring athletes. It's amazing. And I'm so excited.
Yeah, for all he does, I think that gets him like 1 million aura points.
Well used, but that's not our...
Is it time?
Yes,
we're going to do it?
We're going to do it.
It's time for a Gen Z word of the day.
Today, the word is mogging. Take a wild guess about what mogging means.
Mogging. I've heard mogging before. Yeah, I think I know it. So when I was in school, and some of us had to go to school, Kiara, I would study for exams. And so we would say we were mugging for our exams. We'd stay up all night mugging. Except my Bengali friends. They said they were mogging for the exams. And they would eat their rosgulla and mochi and they were mogging. So mogging is how a Bengali person studies really hard.
That's not what mogging means.
Okay, let me try this for real. Mogging. It sounds like blogging, vlogging. Begins with the micro-blogging. So what if you were blogging on like a shorter platform like Twitter or TikTok, micro-blogging? That's what mogging is.
Twitter and TikTok are small platforms. No, that's not what mogging means. Mogging is when you're totally outperforming people. You're straight up crushing it with absolute peak energy.
Okay, so mogging is when you're like beating people?
Yeah.
Okay. So like if I was to do a one-off quiz on K-pop Demon Hunters and be the best at it, I would be mogging the competition.
Well, considering you're the only one who's watched K-pop Demon Hunters out of the two of us, not much of an accomplishment.
It's a great movie, just saying. Should watch it.
Anyway, that's not the point. That's too small. You need to dream bigger for mogging. Mogging is like when you mog the competition in your field and you actually win gold medals for your country. That's mogging.
Okay, that sounds like it's going to be golden, and it sounds like it's going to be perfect for our guest today, who's absolutely mogged the competition, and that is Viren Rasquinha. We're going to bring him on right after this.
And we're back, and we're joined by someone very, very special, someone who was the captain of the men's national Indian hockey team, an Asian Cup gold medalist, an Asian Games silver medalist, an Arjuna Award winner, an actual Olympian who represented India at the 2004 Athens Games, and for the past 16 years, who has been the CEO of OGQ. Please welcome Viren Rasquinha. It's an honor to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Kiara. It's such a pleasure to be here. And I have to say, I absolutely love the vibe of the show. And I love the name of the show even better. 14 going on 41.
Thank you.
Took a lot of research. You were really creative because we knew a few numbers. But, you talked about OGQ. For listeners who don't know, that's Olympic Gold Quest. And you've been doing like a phenomenal job just figuring out how to help athletes represent the nation and really bring pride to the nation and to themselves. It's really amazing, Viren.
Yeah, I feel really lucky because in a very biased way, I feel I have the best job in the world. I get to work with some of the best athletes in the country, maybe on the planet as well. So it's just awesome to be a part of that journey to reach the Olympic podium.
It's amazing. And as you say, like you've got the best job in the world. I was doing some research before this part, right? And I was like really impressed because I thought we had a few similarities. Like I also really like my job. We both have the sport connection. You may not know this, but we actually went to the same school for a period of time.
Which one was that?
I'm a St. Stanislaus boy.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, born for greater things, huh?
Born for greater things. But they kicked me out a bit earlier. I moved to Bangalore. So maybe not that great, unfortunately. But I was there early years in my life. We both did MBAs.
Right.
And you were captain of the Indian hockey team.
The only difference is you studied at your MBA. I didn't.
That's true. I did a little bit of studying. But great school, ISB. We'll come to that. And I thought this was the biggest one. You were captain of the men's hockey team for India. I was captain of my gully cricket team.
Because that's the same thing.
Captain's a captain, right?
Oh my God.
It's about leading from the front.
Exactly. They kicked me out of captaincy soon. But Viren, this is about you, and this is about your incredible journey. I mean, what you've done is really cool. And this podcast is all about those fork in the road moments. You've had a couple. We'll come to the second later where you retired from hockey and went to do an MBA and went on this OGQ path. We'll come to that. But I think the first fork in the road moment was much earlier than, when I would have ever had it. For instance, when you were a kid and you were trying to figure out how you become an elite athlete.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of people while I was interviewing them, and they said that around that time, around that stage, a lot of people were thinking, oh, doctor, engineer. How is that adjusting for you? You wanted to become a sports person and not the doctor or engineer.
Really interesting question. For me, I grew up in the 80s, 90s, and back then, very conventional, regular middle-class family. Mom was a doctor. Dad had done his BSc. Parents were super strict with my eldest brother. He had no choice in life but to become an engineer. They were medium strict with the second brother. He was a very good football player, played at a very high level, could have gone further if he wanted to. Eventually, he also became an engineer. And I think I was the third and lucky one because by the time I came along, my parents were not bothered at all. And that's how I was allowed to play hockey. But I was also very lucky because I came from St. Stanislaus High School, Arvind, the same one that you went. And as you would know, Stanislaus was one of those old Jesuit schools. We had big playgrounds, so lucky on that front. But I think we also had a culture of football and hockey especially. And I think I was even more lucky because my coach in school was a gentleman by the name of Marcellus Gomes. And Marcellus Gomes himself was a hockey Olympian. He represented India at the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics.
Wow, so you had Olympic training right
So
from
when
the
I was 10 years old, my coach in the school hockey team was an Olympian himself.
Wow.
So I think he was the one who taught me all the technical skills in hockey. And hockey is a very technical sport. But I think more importantly, he taught me so many life lessons, which was about teamwork and hard work and to never give up. And I would just say that if it wasn't for Marcellus Gomes, there was no way in the world I would have gone on to play for the Indian hockey team. And I think the importance of a teacher, mentor, professor, we all have someone important in our lives, which generally teachers or professors who made a difference to our life. For me, it was that hockey coach, Marcellus Gomes, who changed my life, who gave belief to a 10-year-old that you could possibly play at a high level.
That's amazing. Kiara, just for the record, teachers are these people in school who actually teach kids who go to school.
So funny, hilarious.
But go ahead.
Sorry. What was that childhood like? I mean, from the time you were 10, you were training to be an elite athlete. What was that? How did that impact your social life? What was your childhood like?
No, I think I can't say that when I was 10, I was training to be an elite athlete. I was going to school. I was a normal kid. I was doing my studies. Studies were important. I actually did really well in school. So when I came to the 10th, I actually came, I don't know, I think 13th or 14th on the Mumbai SSC merit list. Wow. And I got about 91% and at that time. And like everyone else, society wanted me to also be a doctor or an engineer. And but at that time, all I wanted to do was play hockey. And I used to see, this was pre-internet period. So there were actually big books. And I used to see my mom's big medical books at home, and I used to see my two elder brothers' bigger engineering books at home. And equations weren't exactly my cup of tea. So I decided that I wanted to play hockey, and I didn't want to do study any of the equations any further.
There's no hockey book at the time, right? With all the rules and regulations.
Yeah, there wasn't. You had to just go out and play. And and that's why. And I think in India, the hard thing is at 15 and 17, we all have to make tough decisions in life. I think it was easier for me being the youngest kid in the family. Possibly if I was the eldest, I don't think I would have got the chance to play hockey.
Probably helps that you are actually really good at hockey. I mean, if you captain the country, I mean, there's some innate talent there.
But you don't know that at 15, 16, and 17. And I didn't even think that I could play for India still at that point of time. I just knew that I knew what I didn't want to do. I knew what did not make me happy. I still, at that point of time, there's no guarantee that I would play for India. There was no real strong, I wanted to just play, but I didn't know that I would play for India at that point of time. But like I said, I didn't want to go deep in science or engineering or things like
Understood.
that. So it's a question of, at that point of time, knowing what I didn't want to do.
That, I think, is great advice. I think, Kiara, you've gotten that from other people.
I've gotten that advice from one of my mentors, and I think it was the best advice I've ever received. It's okay to not know what you want to do, but you don't start eliminating, know what you don't want to do, and then you'll find yourself.
Like a few episodes down the line, Kiara will know she won't want to co-host this anymore. But, for now, she's okay.
She's tolerating you so far.
I think so. My wife is thrilled because now I'm like busy with this podcast, and she's like, "Oh, you should do this all the time." So she like keeps telling Kiara, "Oh, this podcast sounds great. You should keep doing more episodes." So it works out that way. But I wanted to come back. So you represented India. What was that like? And what were some of those, what were the big matches? There are a couple that I've seen you on TV, but like, what's that feeling of representing the country?
I think I have to say that of all the things I've done, I think the simple part of representing the country and wearing the blue jersey was possibly the most emotional time of my life. And also given the fact that I actually come from a sports-loving family. So my family, especially my dad, loved sport. It's just that no one played competitively, right? Growing up at my dad's time or even my elder brother's time, I think it wasn't even an option in society to take up sport. So I think my dad was the proudest that when I got into the Indian team. And I remember early on, I can't remember, I think it was 2001, where, it was 2001, the Indian team won the Junior World Cup for the first time.
Oh, nice.
And that was in Australia, in Hobart, in Australia.
Hobart.
And that entire team, I think it was a 18-member team, almost 14 of us went into the senior Indian team immediately after that. And one thing led to the other. I played the Asian Games in 2002, where we won the silver medal.
It was an Asia Cup gold somewhere.
Yeah, there was the Asia Cup gold. In 2003 was a great year because we won. The Indian team won 4 tournaments, including the Asia Cup, the Afro-Asian Games. Both times we beat Pakistan in the final. So it was exciting time at that time because there was so much tension between India and Pakistan because this was soon after the Kargil War. 2004 was the Olympics. After that, I became captain. And we played.
Were you there for that India-Pakistan series? I remember seeing you on TV. You captained, right?
So there was an India-Pakistan series immediately after the 2004 Athens Olympics. 4 matches in Pakistan, 4 matches in India. And it was a very young Indian team because every time after an Olympics, generally a country rebuilds for the next 4 years. And we played matches in Lahore, Karachi, Quetta, and another place. I cannot recall which place.
I remember that Karachi was that first game, right? I remember
the first game was in Lahore.
3 minutes in, I remember Arjun Hallappa scored a goal.
Yes. So, the funny thing is the Lahore National Stadium is one, at least at that point of time, it was one of the biggest hockey stadiums in the world. And it was the old style concrete stands, not bucket seats.
Oh, wow.
And so it may have been a 40,000-50,000 capacity. but there must have been 70,000 people in the stadium, because on concrete stands, you can squeeze in many more folks. And it was such an incredible experience, first of all, because it was the first bilateral series in any sport where only India was playing Pakistan after the Kargil War.
Wow.
And so there was massive security for the Indian team when we crossed the border and went on that side. There was so much tension. I remember the first match when we came out of the dressing room onto the field, 70,000 people stood up and were abusing the Indian team. And
this is a PG podcast, Viren. Otherwise, this is a whole new podcast.
I know that, so we'll not go down there. And the funnier thing was, we had a German coach, and he thought that the crowd was cheering when the Indian team came out of the dressing room, and he's waving back to the stands, and he got a missile of fruits and other things thrown in his direction. So he was very soon welcomed into the India-Pakistan bonhomie at that time. But it was a fun match because the match ended 3-3, and every time Pakistan scored, which was thrice, the 70,000 people raised the roof of the stadium. And every time India scored, which was also thrice, there was pin drop silence in a 70,000 stadium. So I think one of the best feelings ever is to silence a 70,000 crowd. And so that was an amazing experience. I remember when we came back to India, there were 2 matches in Punjab, in Chandigarh and Amritsar. And as you know, Punjab loves hockey. Hockey is very popular. I remember when the Indian team was driving down from the airport to our hotel, there were crowds lined up on every street. People were sitting on trees. When we went from the hotel to the stadium, people were sitting on the rooftop of the stadium. People had climbed coconut trees. And Chandigarh is also a big stadium, the Sector 42 stadium. And again, it's about a 30,000 capacity, and there might have been 50,000 people in the stadium. And when you walk out of the pitch and you stand on the center of the pitch, and 50,000 people sing the Jana Gana Mana, that is the most incredible experience that you could have. So yeah, great memories of my playing days, and nothing in the world can replace the moments that you experience at that point of time.
That's incredible.
Amazing, yeah.
It feels like the natural segue to do after that is hang up your boots and do an MBA. I mean, what's that fork in the road moment?
Yeah. So the funny thing was, at 15, when everyone wanted me to study and I wanted to play, at 27, everyone wanted me to play and I wanted to study. And
that's what this podcast is all about, right, Kiara?
Yeah, I mean, taking decisions that may not seem normal to everyone, but it feels right to you.
Yeah, absolutely, Kiara. And I think one thing I've always tried to follow, which is my personal philosophy, is do what I believe is best for me and do what makes me happy. And again, at that point of time, when I was 27, I was already playing for around 9 years in the Indian team. And which means for about 10, 11 years of my life, I was in national camps. I was only playing, training, traveling 11 and a half months a year. And there came a point where I felt that I had reached what I felt the maximum I could give as a player. And I felt that it was time for me to look at the next stage of my life. In hockey, you get a lot of injuries, and it's hard to be motivated to get up every single day at 5:30 in the morning and push yourself to the limit when you're injured, when you're in pain all the time. There's not a single day that you're 100% fit, because hockey is such a contact sport, and you get hit with the ball or the stick or clashing with opponents or fall. So I had so many injuries that there came a time where I was not so happy and I was not fully motivated. And I just felt that if I wasn't fully motivated, then I was not being fair to the rest of my teammates or to the Indian team itself. And so I wanted
I have to say, though, you have to be careful of the corporate world too, right? I mean, you have these swivel chairs that move around. I've fallen off a few times. The ACs are set to sub-zero temperatures. So you're not quite risking your life in hockey, but...
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I just thought that the time had come. And so I took that decision, and in a way it was a leap of faith, because for the previous 10, 11 years of my life, all I had done was play train. I had not even opened a book in those 8, 9, because you just don't get the time. And I think the last time I opened a book was when I was 21 and I graduated. I did my BCom. After that, I just didn't have time. And if you train for 8 hours a day and you go to open a book, that's like a recipe for falling asleep. So,
so what was that adjustment like? I mean, once you retired from hockey and then you had to go back and study for your MBA, well, how did you adjust to life?
As Arvind would know, MBA is pretty hectic, and ISB is a super hectic course packed into 1 year.
One of the best schools in the country, just FYI.
Yeah, it is a great school, and I think the peer group is wonderful, fairly experienced group of people with a lot of work experience. I think I would say the teaching staff is excellent. The curriculum is great, and I have to admit that I was a bit concerned if I could cope up with the workload of that 1 year. But when you actually go to ISB, you realize that everyone is in the same boat, and no one has opened a book for the last 5 years. And when you get thrown into the deep end, you figure out how to swim.
If you can handle the pressure of an India-Pakistan match, I think a few pure MBA type A personalities are a bit easy to handle.
No, of course. I think in a way, it was also what I wanted to do at that point of time. So that helped, that you have to put in the effort. But yeah, I think I never worried about studies or marks or getting 1 mark more than the next kid beside me. So by that time, I think I was hopefully mature enough not to worry about the marks. And if you go to ISB worrying about marks, and whether you get into the dean's list or the top 10% of the batch, it's not going to be a very good year. But if I sort of realize when you go to ISB that everyone is smarter than you. And so if you go there knowing that and understand that I'm here to learn, improve, network really well, make friends for life, and hopefully learn a lot along the way, I think then it's going to be a great year.
I must say, though, I had a few, maybe of your classmates from ISB who joined me at McKinsey. They definitely didn't think that if people were smarter than them, they still may not. But jokes aside, that's when you had your next fork in the road moment, right?
Yeah. I mean, what was it like? Could you tell us the story of how you joined OGQ?
Yeah. So after ISB, again, the year is over. I have no clue about OGQ at this point of time. It was a tough year, 2009. Lots of problems at ISB, jobs at a premium.
It was banks were going down or something like that.
Absolutely.
It was a subprime year. Right?
The Satyam scandal as well.
That's right.
The dean of ISB was chairman of the board of Satyam. He had to resign midway through the year. So it was a tough year for everyone. Anyway, I had done a lot of consultancy interviews, almost got into McKinsey. I got another job, better not to reveal which company at this point of time, but it was a very lucrative offer. I was supposed to start. So ISB finishes around April, and I signed up on-campus placement. I was supposed to start 1st June 2009 in Gurgaon. And in that interim period, when I came back home, I happened to meet Geet Sethi and Prakash Padukone.
Just sorry for our listeners, because we have a diverse set. The younger generation knows Prakash Padukone as Deepika Padukone's father. Yeah. But our generation knows Deepika Padukone as the legend, the All England champ, Prakash Padukone's
Absolutely. So he's played a little bit of badminton in his life. And so they had started this not-for-profit foundation called OGQ with a very sharp mission to help Indian athletes win Olympic gold medals. And they were looking for a CEO, and they approached me. Now, for me, Geet and Prakash are gods in the sporting world. I couldn't say no to them. But I also felt OGQ gave me the platform to help the next generation of athletes do something which I couldn't do, which has been an Olympic medal. And that's how on 1st June 2009, I became the first employee of OGQ. It was a blank sheet of paper. We had no funds in the bank, no athletes, no idea of what to do. But it's, I think, possibly been one of the best decisions of my life. It's been one of the best journeys that I could think of post my very emotional playing career. So it's been great. And yeah, it's been 4 Olympic cycles now: London, Rio, Tokyo, Paris. India's won 21 Olympic medals. I'm so proud that the hockey team won 2 medals at Tokyo and Paris. But if you take those 2 medals aside, because OGQ looks after the training of athletes from individual Olympic sports, so we have won 19, and a training of 13 of those 19 were looked after by OGQ. And we started supporting para athletes as well in the last 6 years. And it's been such a humbling experience to work with the para athletes.
Yeah.
And at the last Paris Paralympics, India won 29 medals. If you compare to Rio, where there were just 4. And so from 4 into 2 cycles, it's gone to 29. And the training of 25 of those 29 medal winners was looked after by OGQ. So it's been a beautiful journey and experience with lots of ups and downs, but I wouldn't exchange it for anything in the world.
We've been so lucky as a nation to have you do all of this. Athletes have been so lucky. So I know you said you lucked into this job, but I really think like an entire country has lucked into you leading this organization that's doing so much. And I love your phrase, right? 6 grams of gold can lift the worth of a nation. That's really powerful.
Yeah, of course. By the way, 6 grams of gold, that's the weight of actual gold in an Olympic or Paralympic gold medal. So, and it takes many, many years to win those 6 grams of gold. And no matter where we are from, everywhere, if we see an Indian athlete standing on the podium, we all feel proud.
What is one, if you had to choose one, I know that's very hard because all the athletes are so inspirational, but if you had to choose one athlete story that still brings tears to your eyes, what would that story be?
Maybe I'll share one story on the Olympic side and one on the Paralympic side. So on the Olympic side, one of my favorite athletes is Mirabai Chanu, the weightlifter who won the silver medal at the Tokyo Olympics. Now, Mira is a weightlifter in the 49 kg category for women's weightlifting. She's only 4 feet 11 inches, so very tiny. Now, Mira came from a really poor family, from a small village far away from Imphal and in the Northeast. Tough girl coming from the mountains, became a weightlifter until the Rio 2016 Olympics. OGQ was not supporting Mirabai Chanu or weightlifting. But our research team was tracking her very closely. She was not expected to win a medal at Rio, but she was expected to finish top 10. So we were very surprised when Mirabai Chanu failed in all her 3 lifts at the Rio Olympics. We were very curious to find out what went wrong at Rio. So in December 2016, I made the journey to Patiala, which was Mira's training base. I had dinner with Mirabai Chanu and her coach. And the dinner meeting turned into almost a 4-hour meeting. And Mira was narrating the story of what went wrong at Rio. She said that when she went on the weightlifting platform at the Rio Olympics, the mental pressure on her was so intense that she mentally totally blanked out.
So it was mental, it wasn't technique, it was just
and she totally forgot the process. And weightlifting is a process. If you forget one element of the process, you cannot lift weights. By the way, in Mira's weight category, in clean and jerk, you have to lift about 115 kilos. That is, and she's I'm 80 plus kilos. I cannot lift that bar 2 centimeters off the ground. And this is a 49 kg female having to lift it over her head. 2.5 times your body weight. We can maybe lift our body weight over our head. 2.5 times is
Maybe you can.
you cannot even think of doing it. I'll injure my back for the rest of my life if I even attempt that. So just to give you an idea of what Olympic lifters lift, that meeting taught us that Meera was really talented. Her coach was really talented, but the ecosystem and the people around them and the team around her, we really had to improve. We first got a very good psychologist to work with her to help her overcome the fear of failure. Because Meera said that after Rio, she just had this fear that she was going to fail every time she went into competition. We had to get a very good nutritionist for her, because for the next 4 years, which turned into 5 because of the pandemic, Tokyo got postponed by a year, we had to keep her weight within 49 kilos, yet have the explosive strength to lift 115 kilos. We had to get a very good physio for her, because I'm a hockey player. We look after boxers, wrestlers. I've seen a lot of injuries, but I've not seen the kind of injuries that happen to weightlifters, because the sheer loads and volumes they lift every single day in training. In the last 3 months in the lead up to the Tokyo Olympics, Mirabai Chanu had 4 injuries. She had a back injury, she had a neck injury, she had a shoulder injury, and she had a thigh injury.
Wow.
And each time we thought, oh gosh, it's over. 5 years of effort gone down the drain. But they say that Olympic champions are made out of something else. And this young girl, Mirabai Chanu, was so brave. She kept fighting, pushing the pain barrier. And finally, 24th July 2021, first day of competition at Tokyo, Mirabai Chanu successfully lifted 115 kilos and she won the Olympic silver medal. Like, I cried buckets of tears that day. For us, it was 5 years of effort. For Meera and a coach, it was 10 years of effort going way before Rio. And exactly about 3 months after the Tokyo Olympics, I think they had the weightlifting national championship. The number of girls that participated almost quadrupled, just because of one hero and role model like Mirabai Chanu. So, I've played with many great athletes. I've got to look after the training of many great athletes. But for me, there are very few in the world like Mirabai Chanu, someone who's that talented, yet who's that humble and disciplined and dedicated to her craft every single day. She's 30 years old now. She missed the medal in Paris by 1 kg on the last lift. So it's tough. She's a legend in I would just say not just Indian but world weightlifting, and what she's done for the sport here is just incredible.
And she's doing more right now, right? She's supporting the next generation of weightlifters.
Absolutely. We have now an academy called Weightlifting Warriors that OGQ has started. We're supporting 35 young girls in the age group of 9 to 14 years old. The mission is very simple and sharp: to build the next Mirabai Chanu in the next 8 years. So that's one of our missions. And for me, Meera is one of the most inspiring athletes that I've worked with.
I know you said you cried buckets of tears, but as you described that, I'm visualizing it. I saw it on TV, but I'm visualizing it again. And I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah. And the next one was on the para athlete, which is for me, Sheetal Devi, the armless para archer. Now, OGQ currently works with 120 para athletes. So many of the para athletes have upper limb impairments or amputations. Some of them have lower limb impairments or amputations. Many are on wheelchairs. Some have intellectual impairments. Some have visual impairments. Some are short stature, or what we call as dwarfs. Now, many athletes who have amputations or upper or lower limb impairments, they don't have it from birth. Most of them actually get it due to accidents that happen. Now, on the para side, most of the athletes, like I said, get the impairments due to accidents that happen. And all these athletes come from really poor families. By the way, 95% of the athletes supported by OGQ do not come from Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, or Chennai. They come from small towns and villages.
These are not Bandra boys. These are literally from the heartland.
Far away. Absolutely. In fact, of the 460 athletes, only one is from Mumbai. She's a table tennis player. She also doesn't train in Mumbai. So not the ideal place at all for elite level training. And Sheetal Devi, unlike many of the other para athletes, was born without both arms. And everything in life that you and me take for granted, Sheetal Devi cannot do. So she cannot pick up a glass of water. She can't eat food on her own. She can't put her clothes on her own. It's tough for her to go to the washroom on her own because it's a struggle to push and pull a door. And yet, this girl who life is such a struggle has learned to fire a bow and arrow with her foot. She holds the bow with her foot. She pulls the drawstring with her cheek and neck.
My goodness.
The target is 50 meters away. The tension in the drawstring is so much. I struggle to pull it and hold it steady because my hand shakes this way. Sheetal Devi fires 300 arrows a day in training, every single day. And if she doesn't fire that much, she feels she hasn't trained enough. And we started supporting her at the age of 15. Last year, at the age of 17, she went on to win the Paralympic bronze medal in the mixed compound archery event. And for me, again, one of the most emotional moments for that girl to go out there, compete against para-archers who have the upper limbs and to win that bronze medal. The whole stadium was standing, giving her a standing ovation. And Sheetal Devi has just taught us she's taken away all our right to complain about anything in life, honestly. And like I said, Meera and Sheetal Devi, for me, the two most inspirational athletes I know.
I think that's a great way to break as we just digest all that you said. That was phenomenal, Viren.
Like we could go on all day with questions, but...
We could go on all day. The only clip your mom will make you hear back to is "This girl doesn't complain." So I think you should remember that. But we'll be back after the break.
And now we're playing the 14 going on 41 what if game. So to explain it to you, Viren, we're going to be asking you questions. They all start with what if, and they're about those fork in the road moments. Again, we love that on this podcast. And going back to those moments, seeing if certain things changed, how your life would have turned out. So I'm going to start us off with the first what if question. It's my favorite one. What if you could time travel back to when you were 14 years old? What advice would you give to your 14-year-old self?
I think focus more on my nutrition and strength and training. I wish I was stronger as an athlete. Maybe I would have been an even better player. But at that time, there was absolutely no advice on the things outside the field. In my entire career playing for the Indian team, I never spoke to a nutritionist or even a psychologist even once. And we didn't have any knowledge or intelligence. I'm talking about the late 90s, early 2000s. There was just no help, guidance, advice, and support at all. So I would just say work on my nutrition and strength and conditioning. I wish someone had told me when I was 14.
Which is even more amazing if you think about OGQ is actually doing now for all the athletes with that support system. My what if ties a bit to OGQ, right? And it's that classic, you had that MBA, you had that corporate job, which we shall not name. But what if you'd actually taken that up and not gone the OGQ route? Where would you be today?
I think I would have done well, but I wouldn't have been as happy as I am today. And for me, happiness is the most important.
That's almost a great segue to the next game we'll play. But Kiara,
I have a few more questions. What if when you were a teenager, your parents had said no to sport and they were actually like very strict about that? How would you have reacted?
Maybe you were the oldest. What if you're the oldest?
That's a really tough question. I would have possibly rebelled at home because in a way, I'm extremely stubborn myself. So, and if I want to do something, I will do it come what may.
What if you actually did win at the Athens Olympics? You won a gold and that dream was fulfilled. Do you think that might have impacted some of your life choices sooner, later, in any way at all?
I think I would have been far richer in life.
6 grams of gold isn't that much, is it? No, but I know it comes with a bit more.
Yeah. I'm not sure about life choices after that. Again, that's a really good question, and that's putting me on a spot. But I think hockey would have been massively more popular in the country if we were to win an Olympic gold medal. I think there would be many more kids playing hockey. I think the sport itself would have been transformed at that time.
And that was an interesting time. I mean, cricket had overtaken, but hockey still like had that legacy. We still had that
There's a lot of
history.
emotional support to hockey all over the country, but we need to translate that into real results and real heroes and role models and household names across the country. That's something that maybe hockey has been lacking.
My next what if question is, if you had to erase one of the two, your silver at the Asian Games or just competing and having that experience of competing at the Olympics, which would you erase?
Oh, I would erase the Asian Games medal, of course, because for a hockey player, the Olympics is the ultimate. That's what you
I can
dream of
imagine,
as a kid. So I would never replace that for anything in the world. The Asian Games is a stepping stone to reach the Olympics. So I would any day forego that medal if to compete at the Olympics or to be able to go there and challenge for a medal.
It's funny you say that. I mean, we've had a lot of guests on this pod, and many of them, we said, what were you thinking of when you were 14? It's one of Kiara's favorite questions. And they're like, oh, I wanted to be a sports person. I wanted to be an Olympian. You're probably the only one who can say I did it. So
I started asking myself, it was mainly the boys who said this. I was like, do all boys dream of being a sports person when they're 14?
Yeah, I loved watching it, but I never thought that I would actually make it at that point. Yeah.
What if you were a 14-year-old today, and if I said you had to take sport and you had to take hockey completely off the table, what do you think you'd be most passionate about and see yourself doing?
I think travel. I love travel and would have loved something like what you are doing. I would have loved to travel the world because I feel so lucky and blessed because hockey and sport have given me the opportunity to travel the world. And I would actually love to travel in India far more. I think there's so many beautiful places in India here itself, which are possibly been unexplored yet.
that's really cool. And what about like with everything that's happening in the world with technology? Any interest in those areas at all?
I would, everyone in office makes fun of me because I'm the most unsavvy tech guy among all of them. So that would answer your question.
Fair. I think just with your name, right? Like I'm Arvind, so people call me AI. Viren Rasquinha, you'd be VR. AI and VR are the tech trends of the future. I think we could have done something cool.
Just to clarify, I don't think you're the most unsavvy person in this room. I think we
Thank you, Kiara. That's very kind of you.
Yeah,
Arvind,
Kiara,
you could do a little bit with kindness.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think I'm learning. All of us learn on this pod. I will learn. But Kiara, that's true. I think, but it's okay. Your technology skills will get better.
Yeah. So that's not the end of the games. We're also playing another one, and we like to call it our happiness rating game. Arvind, do you want to go ahead and explain that?
Sure. I think this is a topic I think a lot about these days. Maybe it's midlife crisis, but I think about what are the things that make you happy and how important are different factors in your own happiness. How much do you value, one thing or another? And we ask our guests to rate from 1 to 5, how much they value a particular parameter. And so why don't you kick us off with the first, Kiara?
The first one is health.
5 out of 5.
Okay.
That makes sense. I'll be the capitalist here who has wealth for you.
3 out of 5.
What about fame?
2 out of 5.
Which is funny. You did have quite a bit of fame, but how about legacy?
4.5 out of 5.
What about impact?
5 out of 5.
Good news is you're having a ton of it, Viren. How about fun?
5 out of 5.
And I think the last one is friendships and connections.
5 out of 5.
Cool. So fun friends who you're then having a lot of impact with is amazing. And again, the way you describe those parameters, Viren, it sounds like you're living your best life. And it was really, really an honor to have you on the podcast and listen to the stories and what you're doing for yourself, for the country, for athletes whose lives are being lifted out of poverty and are getting a chance to, shape the future of a nation in some ways. Just unbelievable. So thank you, Viren.
Yeah, I learned so much today. I feel like hearing your story, it was so inspirational, and I hope it will be an inspiration to everyone listening and the impact you're having on so many things. It's amazing.
No, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to be on the show. And I think it's been, I have to say, one of the most unique and fun podcasts that I've ever done. So thank you for that, both of you.
Well, thank you. It's all thanks to you, Kiara. I'm learning to be kind. The 14-year-old twist is what makes it unique. Thanks, Viren.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.
And we are back and here to wrap up. But before we do that, Kiara, I need to give you that education segment that you never asked for.
Rapping?
We're going to go to the good old days.
Oh, great.
In the good old days.
You know, in the good old days, we didn't have social media. We couldn't watch athletes live. There were no reels or highlights. Do you know how we would possibly catch the Olympic game coverage?
Nope, no idea.
Used to be this channel called Doordarshan.
I've actually heard of Doordarshan. Is that cable TV?
It's actually free to air TV. So before cable TV was this one channel that everyone India could watch, and that was Doordarshan. And that's where you could watch Olympic Games, an odd bit of coverage, but not everything was covered. So often you'd have to wait the next day to read something in the newspaper. And if the games were played in another part of the world, they would have to wait to print just in time, or you might have to read it the day after in the newspapers. And so that was how you got the news.
Every time you tell me something from the good old days, it sounds like people had a lot of patience. It's what I say every time with, cable TV, with this, with the radio. A lot of patience.
That is true. And they also had a lot of compassion. People still do. But the reason I say that is it reminds me of this fun story that I've had. I really got into the Olympics and I heard this one about these two Japanese pole vaulters who in 1936 ended up with the exact same score. And so they were tied for second. But the games gave them a silver and a bronze because they didn't have two silvers. Do you know how they actually resolved this?
Tic-tac-toe, rock, paper, scissors, flipping a coin.
No, all decent answers. But these guys, as a testament to their friendship, said they wanted to celebrate this. So they went back to Japan, went to a professional, had each of their medals cut in half, and then fused them together to create this hybrid silver-bronze medal that each of them kept for the rest of their lives as a testament to their friendship.
That's pretty cool. It is. I think I'm not much into sport, but I have seen and I have heard this saying, and I think it is completely true that sport can bring a nation together.
It can.
Yeah.
And Viren was a testament to that as much as any. He said so many things today, right? And I think that was really, really inspiring. What was your biggest takeaway from today?
So, during the episode, we played the happiness rating game.
Yeah.
I think Viren's was probably the most interesting time we've done a happiness rating game. And he rated fame just a 2, and he was the captain of the Indian hockey team. You think fame would be big for him, but it's not, because to him, everything in his life, you hear his story, it was about happiness. And whether that was from his hockey days or, when he wanted to retire from hockey and go back to studying, it was because he said that I did what I thought was right for me and what made me happy. And now he's been 16 years at a job that, really makes him happy. And that's why he's been at it for 16 years.
Follow your passions, follow your dreams. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that, because my biggest takeaway also came from tying something he said back in the happiness game to something he said in the what if game, right? And he said impact was a 5. And I thought back to his answer to a question we said is, what if you had won the gold medal at Athens? And he jokingly said, I'd be a bit richer. But then he very quickly said, it would have just made hockey more popular in the country. We'd had more boys playing hockey. We'd had more people into the sport. It would have lifted the entire sport and it would have lifted the entire nation. So even when I asked him a question about personal glory, he automatically is thinking about the impact that's having on a broader ecosystem. And I think that is just reflective of the kind of person he is. He's truly in mission mode, doing something he loves. And there was a high degree of congruence between his actions and his ideals. And when that comes together, I think you have a great life.
That's it for today's episode of 14 going on 41. And remember, drive safe on the road less traveled.
See you next week. Peace out, party people.